going on, ladies and gentlemen, but appears our mother network is kind of sideways right now. I don't know what's going on. Hey, Don. How you doing, brother? Great to see you. Hello, everybody. How you guys all doing out there? I'm just waiting for the studio to come on live. I'm not getting any bumpers, so I don't know what the hell's going on, but hopefully we'll get it all sorted out. I guess I'll have to be minding the clock extra close tonight. Still says I'm muted. It's not Don's fault. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing great. I'm still waiting for the studio to connect. It still says muted. I don't know what the hell's going on. Very strange. Not sure what's up with TFR, but I'm looking into it. Maybe I'll try reconnecting and seeing if it's something on my end. I don't know. I'm not sure if other hosts were having trouble. I didn't see anything. But let's try it. So bear with me, those of you that are here. Let's try it again. I'm just going to keep trying, and we'll try to reconnect and see if that solves our ills here. I hope it does. Whoops, wrong one. Wrong button. Dang it. All right. This one. Add. There we go. Sorry, click the wrong button. But I'm going to get this sorted out, of course, ladies and gentlemen. But this is the Paranormal Portal. I heard a little chirping in my ear, so I'm not sure if that's a good chirp or a bad chirp or if it means anything. Where's Don? Where's Don, dude? Don is in the audience right now in the TFR or the YouTube chat. So he's with us. He's with us, and when he's not even in chat, he's with us in spirit. He's a part of the team. We love Don. So, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't look like it's neither picking up nor waking up. I'm not sure. It still says muted on the studio. So I apologize that I got to troubleshoot this live with you guys, but there's some things I don't understand. I think the brakes might be back. Hey, are you hearing me? I don't know if anybody's in the TFR or not. Looks like Bam might be in there, but I hope so. I hope he's hearing me. I just got to get confirmation first, folks, and then we'll dive into the show. But, you know, the Paranormal Portal started on TFR, and that's our mother network. And we still broadcast on there on Friday and Saturday nights. That's why we have the commercial breaks, as I've told many of you before. But, you know, it's our mother network. And I love broadcasting on there, so it doesn't look like I'm getting any feedback here from the listeners on TFR. Looks like Bam might be typing. Hopefully he's coming back with something positive here. I mean, if they're hearing us, we're good to go. Very clear. Very good. Okay. Well, it still says I'm muted on the studio board, but looks like we are live and underway, folks. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Paranormal Portal. It's our Saturday night edition, and it's going to be our last live show for quite a while. For about a week and a half following tonight. There's just a lot going on, and I got a lot of things to be taken care of. So I needed to step back from the live shows. I'll stream every once in a while because I'll have a few surprise streams here and there. So if you're a YouTube listener, please definitely check it out. Subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll know when those go live. Maybe I'll even stream on Facebook, but I'm not sure. But as we're after it here, I guess the best place to start, as always, and thank you, Bam, I appreciate that. As always, it's time for the news. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Network. I'm your anchor and host, Brent Thomas, over here as well. I'm everywhere. I sent you a pic. Who'd you send a pic? Okay, hold on. Let me see what Don's sending pics about. That might make the news. Let's see what's going on here. What the hell is this? I don't even know what I'm looking at. What is that? What is that pic? What am I seeing here? Who is this guy? Oh my God, really? Oh, wait. I know what I'm seeing here, folks. Leading off the news, we have an exclusive Paranormal Portal news break. Exclusive. And this is one you might want to buckle up for because, folks, this one In fact, make sure you're sitting down and not standing up or in any position that might cause you to lose your balance or feel vertigo, because you're about to see a handsome young man here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to present to you the high school photo of Mr. Don Longbeard. Look at that handsome fella. He was all rock star for sure. That's pretty cool. I'm like, what am I seeing here? What am I looking at? Oh my God. And then it hit me. I saw those eyes. I was like, I know that guy. I know that guy. So there he is, ladies and gentlemen. The unbearded version. It was Don Razor Stubble. He's now Don Longbeard, but he was Don Razor Stubble when this one was taken. And perhaps maybe couldn't quite farm the full beard back then, but I know I'm still having trouble, as an established adult. So very cool. That is Don Razor Stubble right there, ladies and gentlemen. Handsome devil, though, isn't he? Yeah, looks good. Good picture. And actually very stylish. Got the blue jeans cooking and the suit coat. I like that. That's awesome. All right, very cool. So that's first, ladies and gentlemen, on our news broadcast here, bringing you the very latest and greatest of inside scoops on things you wouldn't otherwise have seen. Here we go again. I got some news articles here that I'm going to pull up for you. Some of them are good, and some of them, I got a few bizarre ones tonight I'm really kind of excited to dig into. But this one is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. Greg Agigian, I think is how that's pronounced. A brief cultural history of UFOs. There's nothing brief about this, but it's a pretty cool little article. So it says, the science historian recently discussed how society's perception of UFOs has changed over the years. The idea of aliens in other worlds might be inhabited actually goes back to ancient times. The question was a matter of real debate among the philosophers, scientists, and theologians in the Western world by the 18th century, and it was widely accepted that alien civilizations existed. But something changed in the 19th century, and that's when you first start to see these reports of people seeing what they say were flying ships overhead. The things people described back then sound a lot like the things that they were familiar with. They literally saw ships and vessels that would normally float on the sea in flight. Some people would see steam-powered ships, but it's really not until the summer of 1947 that people began to regularly speak of seeing flying objects that some attributed to extraterrestrials. What happened in 1947? A pilot by the name of Ken Arnold was flying his small plane near Mount Rainier in Washington State, and he was flying around. He said he saw some sort of glimmer or shine that caught his eye and was concerned that maybe he was going to have a collision with another craft. When he looked, he saw what he described as 9 very oddly shaped vessels flying in formation. After Arnold landed, he reported his sightings to authorities at a nearby airport and eventually talked to some reporters. And when a reporter asked Arnold to describe how the things moved, he said they flew like a saucer would if you skipped it across the water. Some very clever, enterprising journalists came up with the headline, Flying Saucers. And from that point forward, they were flying saucers, even though Arnold never uttered the phrase himself. The Gallup poll 6 weeks after the event discovered that 90% of Americans had heard the term flying saucer, and this was the beginning of the phenomena that some would call flying saucer era and the contemporary idea of UFOs. Within days, other people in the country began reporting having seen similar things in the sky. Within weeks, the U.S. Air Force decided to look into the reports. Arnold's story was also triggered a lot of press interest, and soon the international media were covering this story. It was a worldwide phenomenon within months. Who starts to look into UFOs? 2 things happened in parallel. First were government-sponsored investigations in the U.S., specifically within the Air Force. In 1947, the Air Force set in motion a number of different projects, all basically interested in one question. Did the UFOs represent a national security threat? The government wasn't interested in a deep scientific analysis of these things. On the other hand, from 1947 to 50, you had a lot of general public who were just utterly fascinated with the mystery of flying saucers. What are they? Are they real? If they are real, who's behind them? Some people threw around the idea of aliens, but that's not really the major theory that people bought into. Most people, if they thought the sightings were real, believed that they were either secret weapons of the U.S. military or secret weapons or secret aircraft of the Soviets. So out of this fascination developed what you could call the equivalent of fan groups, flying saucer clubs, and those became the seeds of growth in the 1950s and 60s for the UFO organizations, first at the local and then the national and then international level. How did government programs fit the UFO ecosystem? A lot of what the Air Force did was behind closed doors and supposed to be clandestine. The government has released files over many years that show that a considerable number of UFO sightings where people were seeing secret airplanes like the U-2, and it's no surprise that the Air Force would try to keep these strict control over what was revealed to the public. But that strict control is one of the many things that fed conspiracy theories over the years. The idea among UFO believers became the government isn't shooting straight with us. Something we've got to get to these people to disclose all the information they know, or somehow rather. What is the modern American perspective of UFOs? Up until recently, or up until the 90s, the Cold War played a really fundamental formative role in how people in the U.S. imagined UFOs, both in terms of how we think about humanity's prospects technologically, but also relating to the fears and anxieties surrounding the Cold War. But when the Cold War ended, interest fell off. From the late 1990s into the early 2000s, media coverage was nominal. That all changed in the 2017 revelations about the secret UFO project in the Pentagon. This spurred on a resurgence of interest in UFOs. The way the media were talking about UFOs had a lot of the same elements from before. Are these things alien? If they're not alien, are they from our military or somebody else's military? Are the people who are pushing the narrative and stories of sightings operating in good faith, or are these just con men? In so many ways, it was all really reminiscent of the 1940s and 50s. In my conversations with scientists, I've been seeing some movement towards a willingness to say, this stuff is maybe worthy of looking into more seriously. The important change, since the 1990s specifically for astrophysicists and astronomers, has been the discovery of so many planets around other stars that could possibly support life. I'm excited by the prospect of deeper study, both as a phenomena that needs to be investigated by physical scientists, but also as a social and cultural phenomena. Mystery breeds speculation, and the UFO phenomena is not a puzzle that can be easily solved. The mystery part gives people an opportunity to ask big questions, and not just humanity's place in the universe, but about the limits of technology and knowledge. I think that's why people keep returning to the question of UFOs, and that's by Greg Egigian, professor of history at Penn State. I think that's fair. At least it talks about where has the evolution of this interest been, and how did it start. Now, I found it interesting that flying saucers were penned by the media, not necessarily describing what this guy saw. He just saw lights that moved in a peculiar way. And so that's interesting. So maybe there wasn't just flying saucers. Maybe he saw something else. Maybe, and also in reference to people used to see steamships and stuff. I think that may be more a function of what could people relate it to. Well, maybe it looked kind of like a steamship, like it looked like it had these pieces and parts on it that did something, and it looked complex, like maybe a steamship. It was big. Maybe it was just a reflection of how large it was in the sky, and that's why they said it was like a steamship in the sky. I don't know that's exactly what people viewed, but maybe that's how they translated it to people asking the question, what did you see? And so I think that there's a lot of supposition in this person's interpretation of that. But at any rate, I think it's a very good article. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, because I think it's very interesting. All right, continuing on in our fine news broadcast here. Let's get going with the next story. And this one's kind of concerning. I don't know how this works, but I think depends on what you subscribe to, I guess, economically. But this one's coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. By 2030, will we actually own anything? Let's see what it says. It says, some experts predict that in the near future, we will be renting rather than owning just about everything. Okay, sorry. These days, it's still common for people to own most of the things that they use on a daily basis. In the not too distant future, however, it has been predicted that we could see a significant shift away from ownership to renting, with even the simplest gadgets being borrowed rather than outright owned. In 2016, the World Economic Forum released a video predicting that by 2030, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That doesn't sound like it's even a suggestion. It's like you will be happy. Whatever you want, you'll rent, and it'll be delivered by drone. Everything you considered a product has now become a service. I wonder if they'll take back some of the stuff I ate this afternoon. And when it cancels my order, here's what's left. Sorry, I cracked myself up. Everything you consider a product has become a service. In a separate WEF essay reads, we have access to transportation, accommodation, food, and all of the things we need in our daily lives, and one by one, all these things became free, so it ended up not making sense for us to own much. We're starting to see examples of this idea where we would once have bought DVDs to watch. Movies at home, for example, now we subscribe to streaming services like Netflix. It's because most movies are great to watch once, but they're not worth buying. Instead of owning a car, many people opt to use Uber to get where they need to go, and self-driving cars become the norm. One might simply rent a car, which automatically shows up outside your house and takes you where you want to go for the day. There are advantages to renting rather than owning. It means fewer commitments, less responsibility, and more freedom to change your mind about things. On the other hand, we also risk becoming slaves to the companies that provide these rented services. I think so. Ultimately, the way we purchase and use goods and services is likely to change significantly in the coming years. Whether or not it will be a change for the better, however, remains a matter of debate. Yeah, there you go, folks. I don't know. I'm not sure I like that, but I was thinking about movies as well. It's like, in a lot of cases, for music, for example, you never really have a physical copy of the music. You may have access to a file. In many cases, we buy subscription services. Some people pay for Spotify, for instance, and you basically own the right to listen to whatever the hell's on there. But you never actually own it, but you can play it all day long until you're sick of it. Some ways, yeah, some ways it makes sense. But if things ever went sideways, you'd have nothing. You'd have nothing, like if it was all this e-goods, electronic goods and services. Once, if something were to happen where the world as we know it would fundamentally change and shut down, you'd be screwed. You'd be wishing you had a hammer and a saw and all the things instead of renting them. But I don't know. We'll see. It's some people's ideas, and maybe there's merit to it, maybe not. I don't know. I guess it's all up to you, but it does seem to lend the system towards abuse at that point, Like it could be really easy to turn off people's functionality in a punitive way. And since power corrupts, it's only a matter of time before that would be abused. So I don't know. We'll see. The future is a blank slate, but it's getting pretty questionable sometimes. All right, so that's that one. Let's continue on here. Here's another one. Let me look at the time. I don't know how much we got. 6 minutes according to the clock. Here's a weird one, folks. Everybody knows somebody that has that kid. There's one kid everybody knows. Oh my God, that kid's a nightmare. Oh my God, that kid. I feel so bad for his parents or her parents or whatever. Everybody knows someone like that or has a relative like that or whatever. But here's a kid I don't think anybody would. This is definitely a problem, I think, with parenting at this point, but you guys be the judge. 8-year-old steals parents' car twice in 1 week. An 8-year-old. All right. A young driving fan from Germany ended up crashing after repeatedly taking his parents' car out for a joyride. Oh, my God. The boy, who lives in Soest, first took the Volkswagen Golf for a spin in the early hours of Wednesday morning, and he was later spotted driving at 87 miles per hour along a motorway. Oh, my God. He was eventually apprehended after stopping at the side of the road with his hazard lights on. Even a stern talking to from his mother didn't seem to have dissuaded his driving obsession. However, as a mere 2 days later, he did exactly the same thing again. This time, though, he wasn't quite so fortunate. It ended up crashing the car after driving 31 miles to the nearby city of Dortmund at speeds of up to 110 miles per hour. Luckily, nobody was injured. However, the car was badly damaged. The boy, who has a lot of experience driving go-karts, will now receive psychological counseling. How about the mom getting some counseling on how to parent? I mean, how is this kid getting a car keys over and over? Oh, my God. I appreciate that a kid just, maybe not have that fundamentally figured out. I probably shouldn't take the car. It's like, hey, it's mom's car. I can use it. She lets me use her, her chair. So there you have it, folks. But now this article is from 24th of August of 2019. So it's not a brand new one, but it's new to me. And man, that's some real problems going on there. All right, the next one. Here's a weird one for you. A little quick news piece. Apparently got to be real careful singing karaoke, folks. And this one comes from China, I think. But it's unexplained-mysteries.com. Too much karaoke gives a man a collapsed lung. A man in China recently ended up in a hospital after an evening of belting out songs, causing his lung to collapse. For most of us, the ordeal of singing pop songs in front of an audience is punishment enough. But for one man in China recently, singing karaoke almost had fatal consequences. The 65-year-old man, who was identified only as Wang, sang at such intensity and for so long that he started to experience difficulty breathing, as well as pains in his chest. When he visited the hospital the next day, doctors discovered that his lung had literally collapsed because of the high lung pressure caused by singing high notes. The condition, which is known as pneumothorax, happens when air is rerouted into the area between the lung and the chest wall, putting pressure on the lung and causing it to collapse. And it's believed, however, that Wang must have had a pre-existing condition beforehand. Yeah, because the air would have had to leak out of the lung in order to push into his chest cavity. It's normally a closed system. Typically, a collapsed lung requires some degree of architectural anomalies within the lungs, said Dr. Enid Neptune at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine in Baltimore, Maryland. An absolutely total lung collapse, normal lung, usually doesn't suffer spontaneous pneumothorax in the absence of trauma. Yeah, that man had some issues going on, but yeah, I'm glad he's okay. It shouldn't be a life-threatening condition to sing songs. But there's one more. I got one more for you. Let me look at the time here. Yeah, this will be about perfect, providing there's bumpers, but we'll see if that actually works. This is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Woman claimed filling was messaging aliens. There you go. A recent incident, and this is from 2019 again, 14th of August. A recent incident at a dentist's office saw a woman insist that her dental filling was sending radio signals to ET. The strange altercation, which occurred last Tuesday afternoon in Safford, Arizona, involved a woman who had visited a dentist to demand that a filling be removed from her tooth. The reason, she argued, was that she believed the filling was sending messages to aliens. When the woman didn't get her way, she became angry and threatened to kill the dentist. She eventually left to have the procedure carried out at a different dental office and, according to reports, did in fact have the filling removed and replaced later on that same day. It later transpired that the woman hadn't been taking her medication and was having a psychotic episode. When an officer went to check on her, she denied ever being to see the dentist. Her doctor has since been notified and follow-up visits scheduled for further evaluation. Yeah, you don't want to get those meds wrong. Oh, funny thing. But yeah, I mean, it reminds me of that episode of Gilligan's Island where Gilligan got the radio. He'd have to turn his head. Yeah. I don't know. Dated reference, I know. Most of you are like, Gilligan's what? Gilligan's Island. Dope, Gilligan. Great entertainment, folks. But that's going to do it for the news. Whoops. All right, folks, that brings us through the news. I hope you enjoyed the news. I like bringing you the news. I hope you enjoy hearing the news. But just remember, it's not my fault if you don't like it. It's the news. And it's the news's fault. It's the only news broadcast that has an applause track attached to it. So you know it's got to be good, right? So at any rate, we are chewing through the night here. We're just about to go to our first break. I don't know. I'm assuming that it's working to some degree. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't know what they're hearing on TFR. I'm going to start the break here, but I'm going to listen to the feed on their webpage and see what they're getting, because I don't know what's going on. I'm a little confused, but I do get lost without those bumpers. So we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, in just a couple minutes. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal. Hey, everybody, I'm back. Sorry about that. I guess there is a problem with the network, but I think they're hearing us okay over there. It's just that there's some issue with the bumpers and brakes and stuff, and I can't troubleshoot that now. because I'm actually doing my show. But I've sent a message, and what did you hear? What was what? What are you hearing? Bam, what are you hearing, brother? I'm waiting for a response. I don't know. We'll get it all sorted out here. Anyway, sorry guys, I'm just trying to see what they're hearing on TFR and make sure they're hearing me okay again. This is unusual. TFR's usually solid as a rock, but every once in a while, any kind of system has problems, of course, and one as complex as the TFR broadcasting, I'm sure does, is more, there's a lot of layers going on. Okay, so it says it's okay now. Before there was a mess of sounds. Oh, I don't know. Not sure what that was, brother. Might have been something. I don't know. It's okay now, but before there was a mess of sounds. Not sure. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're back at it. Sorry for these weird hiccups of technical issues, but I'm doing the best I can. I only can do so much. I'm only one person, man. I'm only one person. No, it's fine. We have a lot more of the paranormal to get to, but I just want to let you know that the phone lines are open. 720-923-0500 if you want to call in. Be a part of tonight's show. Oh, thank you, Renee. I appreciate that. Then by all means, call in. Let me know. Let me know what you think, because we did check the podcast with new music. Yeah, Don, I gotta say, first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, that if you like the Paranormal Portal podcast, if you've listened to it and you've heard the evolution of the sound, we're always trying to better our presentation at all times, and certainly if you like what you're hearing now on the recent shows, you have Don to thank for that. He's really been doing some really cool things and producing the podcasts, and has done a marvelous job recreating our sound, making it even more professional than it already was. So if you're not checking out our podcast, we'd really love for you to do that. And you can find our podcast on all the major platforms out there, and including some new location that's going to be popping up soon. I don't know when it actually goes live or if it's live yet, so I'm not going to announce it officially, but it's one that I'm really excited about as well. So we got all kinds of stuff going on. All kinds of stuff going on the Paranormal Portal, folks, and you're all invited to every one of it. So if we got a show, you're welcome to join me. And join Don as well when he's here, for sure. All right, so we've got a lot more of the paranormal goodness that you've grown to know and love and trust to receive right here at the Paranormal Portal. And right now we're going to go to an article that we've been cruising through for a little while now, but it's a great article. And this is coming from Factinate.com, and it's a list of experiences, unsettling experiences. And this was, I can't remember the full title of the article, but I've said it many times as we've been doing segments throughout many shows on this article. But it was aggregated by a Stephen Y, is a staff writer apparently at Factinate.com. And he's found these amazing, unsettling events that people have posted on Reddit. And we've been sharing many of them here on the show. So let's continue diving into that. And definitely check out Factinate. Anytime we cover an article from a website, please check those out. Check out those websites because... Ooh, I'm getting dings. I got to turn my phone on mute. Because it's a labor of love for many of these people to do these articles, these web pages, and all the support you can give them is awesome. Okay, thank you, Don. I appreciate that. Oh, Nessie, woo! Sending some Kiwi scratchy lovin's to my favorite Paranormal Portal boys. Thank you, Nessie. Love, love, love. Lots of love. That's very sweet. Okay, so this one is number 90 on our list as we're going through. It's a really long page. But we're on number 90 of this list, and it says, I live in a small mountain town. It takes 3 hours to get to the nearest city, and I make that drive 2 or 3 times a month, and I've done it for 10 years. I have the trip committed to memory, and one night I was making the drive at 2 a.m. to catch an early flight. I went through a big sweeping curve to the left, and all of a sudden, I was driving on a straight road. I knew there wasn't a straight section on the highway for another 30 miles. I looked around trying to figure out where I am, and there wasn't a single a single highway sign on the side of the road, on my side of the road. The phone had no service, so I couldn't check my location. I looked out the window and realized the high desert scrub trees had been replaced with a thick forest. That's something that we don't have here. I kept looking at the clock for the next 15 minutes I was driving. For some reason, I was on a straight road through this ominous dark forest when I should have been on a curvy mountain pass in the desert. Right about the time I started to have a full-on panic attack, a sweeping left curve appeared, and I was finally out of the forest and back in the scrub. I chalked it up to drowsy driving and an overactive imagination, until it happened again. It happened 2 years later at the same spot, except this time I wasn't alone. I had my brother riding beside me on a similar airport run when all of a sudden I was on that straight forested road. This time we were on that road for about 5 minutes. After about 5 minutes of driving down that dark, heavily forested road, my brother looked around and finally asked, "Where are we?" And as soon as he asked that, cue the sweeping left curve appearing, and after taking it, we're suddenly back in the desert. Even though I can't explain it, I'm at least grateful that I had a witness. That was by Diesel Down. That is really creepy. I don't know. Is that some kind of dimensional shift? Suddenly you're driving in a different reality completely? At least they got roads. Wouldn't it suck if you did that phase and all of a sudden there's no roads, it's just forest? Yeah, that would suck. I'm just sorry. It's the musings of my mind as I read these things. Number 91, just another Manic Monday. Oh, it was a Bangles song, wasn't it? Yeah. About 4 or 5 years ago, I worked at this Little Caesars Pizza. Usually I would work inside on the pizzas, but we had just started up on this Monday Madness deal where pizzas were only $4 on Monday, so we needed someone to advertise. It was a wild and weird, I was a wild and weird metalhead, so I took up the position on Mondays of just going out there and throwing around a sign to get attention and bring people in for pizza. Not exactly glamorous, but I had fun. One day while I was out there doing my thing, I see a van coming straight at me. It jumps the curves and slams into me, and I feel it crush me against the electrical box controlling the streetlights. I see a quick flash as the traffic lights flick off, and then I black out. I open my eyes with a gasp, and I'm still on the corner, and nothing has happened. No van or anything. But the story doesn't end there. Well, I was a little shaken up, so I decided to pack it up and walk back to the store for a break. I walk no more than 15 feet away from the corner when I hear a crash. I look back, and a van just hopped the curb into the electrical box, and I watched the traffic lights flick off. Needless to say, I took the day off. I still think about that from time to time. That was by Neurotrace. Yeah, if that's legitimate, man, that's absolutely a divine intervention. That's absolutely something very powerful going, nope, this can't happen. Let's give them a warning. What an amazing story, though. Wow. 9 lives, 2 stories. When I was in high school, my little sister, Mom, and I would eat dinner together every evening and tell each other about our days. At the time, my sister was young, only in an elementary school. And on a Monday during summer break, we were all having dinner, and my sister told us about how she and our next door neighbors were playing with their new cat when it got loose outside. They had to spend the whole day looking for it. Fast forward 2 days at dinner time, my sister tells the exact same story from 2 days prior. My mom and I looked at each other funny because we both clearly remembered the cat story. When we asked my sister if she had mistaken the day since she told us the same story on Monday, she just gave us a blank look and had no memory of it at all. The creepy part is when we called our neighbors to ask them about the cat incident, they told us that all of it happened that day, Wednesday, and they weren't even in town on Monday. Oof, that's the Schofield me. Or Schofield me, one of the two. Yeah, that's bizarre. That's pretty bizarre. Down the rabbit hole, number 93. My mother did all of her GYN appointments with a doctor in downtown Austin. He was on the 5th floor of this hospital building and had a longtime nurse receptionist named Allison. And I remember attending her appointments when I was little, and my mother would make a game out of finding the office and being in the waiting room, which was colorfully decorated with a forest scene. Allison was a super sweet woman who was half babysitter for us kids too. She would read us books and give us coloring books and occasionally even listen to our dreadful knock-knock jokes. We all referred to her as Alice in Wonderland. Anyway, years down the road, I got married and pregnant and started searching for an OB since I had moved back to Austin relatively recently before that. My mother suggested I go see if that doctor who had been super young when I was born was still in business. Well, I couldn't find his name in the hospital directory, so I figured I would just swing by the office and check. My mother happened to be in town, so she had moved years ago and came with me. We both joked about it being so familiar but reversed situations now. As we reached the stairs, we ran into a problem. There was no 5th floor at this hospital building. Odd. We both must have misremembered it. We knew it was on the top floor, so it must have been on the 4th. Nope, not there. We thought maybe we were in the wrong building, except we parked in the same parking garage thing from 20 years ago and walked the same route. The doctor did not exist. Never did, apparently. My mother and my brother and I are the only ones who remember him and Alice in Wonderland. We've asked around, including among hospital staff. We even looked up our birth certificates, which are new copies, and it just lists attending physician. One of my childhood memories is fake, but shared with my brother and my mom. And that's by Sandy Dargan. That's pretty bizarre. I was going to say powerful and bizarre, and I got bizarre. That's strange. What is going on here? Well, howdy there, Brooks. Hello, Slowpoke. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. And I'm going to look at the chat here. I just want to make sure I haven't been missing anything. Nessie. What the hell is that? Did you guys hear a chirping sound? Like, did you guys hear that? Oh, thank you, Android. Been a while since I donated. Great story topics again. Don't hesitate to go on any tangents on theories behind any stories. You're never too preachy. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. Yeah, you heard it. Okay, so people are hearing that. Whatever the hell that is, I have no idea. It could be something from the network issues that we're having because, of course, we are connected. So it might be coming from the TFR side, but that's the second time now I've heard it since doing the show here tonight, and I don't know what the hell it is. It's a weird sound. It's like tuk, 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 but more chirpy and high-pitched. It's almost, it's one of those, you ever have those high-pitched noises that you almost feel them in your throat as much as you hear them? They're just so high-pitched. That's what that noise reminds me of. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I apologize. It's just I have really, really good hearing, so really, really high-pitched noises that are, really, really high. I end up hearing them like in my eustachian tubes or something. I don't know. I don't know how it works, but I don't hear them in my ear as much as I hear them in my throat. If that makes any sense at all, I don't know. And I apologize if that sounds stupid, but it's honest to God truth. All right. Well, I don't know what that chirping noise is, but that was a great story. So now it kind of reminds me of my ghost story. There was this, I think he was a skater, Olympic skater or skier or somebody that had crashed really bad and messed up their leg. And they went to physical therapy, but they went to the physical therapy office and then is it in your earphones or coming from somewhere in your house? No, I'm hearing it right in my ears in here. So I don't know. I guess I didn't know. I mean, it could be bleeding through, but I don't know what it is. Nothing seems to be broken. Good question. I guess when it happens next time, I'll pull the earphones in here. But there was a skier or somebody that got injured, and they were going to physical therapy, but they went and were going to see a doctor at this office building, but when they were there, this other doctor said, or physical therapist came out and took the person in. And the person remarked about this person helping them that it was like they were dressed in old-time medical garb, but whatever, he went in the room, or he or she, and I don't recall the gender of the person, but they would do these severe stretching exercise, and it was going on for weeks and weeks because this person literally couldn't even walk, and they kept working and working really hard, and ended up over a period of months got the person so they could do their thing again, whether it was skating or skiing, I don't remember. But they were so thrilled with that they had made this great recovery that they went back to say thank you. And he said, hey, I just came by to say thank you to this person. And he only knew the physical therapist by their first name. And they were like, who? And he said, yeah, I've been coming in here. And they said, yeah, we've seen you in here, but didn't know who you were seeing. And then you'd just be gone. And it was like, well, I would always get taken into that room over there. And they said, that's not a room. That's not an examiner or a physical therapy room. And they showed him the room, and it was totally different. But it turns out that I think the person saw pictures in an old album and realized that like his great aunt or great grandmother or somebody was some kind of a medical practitioner helping people recover from injuries. And when he saw the picture, it was like, that's her. And it turned out that it was actually his ancestor that was showing up, his or her, and helping him or her recuperate. And I thought, wow, that is so incredible. Now, I saw this years and years ago, but I'm trying to remember the details, and it's sketchy, but that's the gist of it, that they got help from somebody that didn't exist, just like this, and in a location that didn't exist for helping people. So what's going on there, folks? I don't know. Is it another case of divine intervention, or is it just being visited in an altered state, like maybe a middle ground between the next world and our world that can be fabricated in order to help? I don't know. But whatever the case, a very cool story. Just like that one was. That was by Sand Dargan. All right. Here's number 94. I think we're down to 8 minutes. Okay. This not only happened to me, but almost everyone in my class in my junior year of high school. So basically, one of our teachers was checking attendance for his class, and he noticed that one girl in our class was marked absent for the previous day. He asked her why, and she said that she was sick or something like that. Well, this sent a chill through the entire class. It left me and probably 80 or 90% of the people in our class bewildered, because we could have swore that we saw her in class and in school the day before. I really thought I saw her walking right outside our classroom too, which is 10 to 15 minutes was pretty much, the next 10 to 15 minutes was pretty much almost everyone saying that they could have sworn that they saw that girl in question the day before and giving their accounts of where they saw her. It turns out the girl really wasn't in school, but this still creeps me out to this day. That was by FDT92. Huh. Doppelganger, maybe? Maybe. Number 5, Nighty Nights. A few years back, I was talking to my parents late at night. Their room leads to a corridor, which has a door into the bathroom and a door for my room. And I said, good night to both of them. And they responded each with good night. Then I closed the door to their room and walked down the corridor to mine. And when I was by the bathroom door, a voice whispered in my ear, good night, with the deepest, raspiest, and spookiest voice I have ever heard. So I'd be like, good night. I froze for a second, opened the door to my parents' room, and asked if they had spoken to me, and they both denied it. So I calmly closed the door and then bolted to my room. I cried myself to sleep that night. Oh, that's the hard part. So with the paranormal weirdness that can happen, this was obviously a situation where this person didn't feel like it was okay to share what they heard with their parents, and that's really unfortunate. I think about that, these children that are dealing with horrendously scary things like that. And, the one place they want to go is the safest place they know, and that's to their parents. And that's usually the one place that they don't feel they can go because their parents will just deny it. No, it's just your imagination. No, you're just having a bad dream. Oh, you imagined it. No. I think kids get tormented sometimes, and they need to be listened to. They really do. That was by Naranjo 96. Wasn't the last one a 96 too? It was 92. Okay. 96. Well, that's weird. 96. 96. Sometimes one guy can ruin it for everyone else. I went to my wife's last reunion a few years ago. On the day of the reunion, she got a call saying that it was canceled. Apparently 5 years earlier, a classmate got creepy and stalkery with another classmate. The people organizing the reunion invited him, expecting him not to show up. Then the guy posted some vague threats on his social media accounts. And they did actually change the venue and have the reunion, but there were many people that couldn't be contacted with the updated info. Yeah, that's creepy. It's called Weedful Things submitted that. That is terrible. If there's always, I mean, every group of people has that one person, especially like in a whole class. There's always that one person that just doesn't quite fit in, and sometimes they can just be quiet and reserved people, but sometimes they can just be bizarre and maybe even dangerous, and it's hard to know which is which until it's too late. 97, The Widowed. Did I say who's that? Weedful Things, yeah. So my mom remarried about 2 years ago, and my dad died and when I was 12, so she had been widowed for over 10 years. This new relationship was very whirlwind, with her meeting the guy, dating him, and getting married within 3 months. I didn't know much about the guy, but my mom was happy, so I tried to be supportive. Well, she moved into his house in upstate Virginia and invited me and my fiance to spend a weekend in her new home getting to know her new husband. My mom's new home was pretty isolated. It sat on a few hundred acres of lovely rolling hills and was very picturesque. I was nervous about getting to know this guy, but really trying to make the most of it. And over the course of our first day there, though, I started to feel more and more uneasy. We were being made to feel very at home, yet I couldn't shake this oppressive feeling. Well, I finally chalked it up to me being more upset about my mom getting remarried than I was willing to admit to myself. That night, my fiance and I showered together, and when I turned my back to him, we stopped talking mid-sentence and asked, "What did you do to your back?" "Well, nothing. Why?" "You have a large bruise." Well, I hopped out to try and see in the mirror, and he was right. It was so strange. I had no idea how it got there, and the whole thing made me feel even more creeped out. The next morning, I had a complete meltdown. I woke up and just couldn't stop crying. I told my fiance, and we had to leave. He tried to calm me down by telling me all the things that I'd been telling myself. My feelings of anxiety were just a result of seeing my mom with someone. The longer I spent with them, the easier it would become, but I just had to leave. I felt completely hysterical. I knew I was on the verge of a panic attack, so in the end, my fiance drove me away. As soon as we were on the road, I felt like a weight had been lifted, and I was even feeling embarrassed for my behavior, hoping I hadn't insulted my mom's husband by leaving early. Then my fiance broke the silence. "That bruise on your back, did you get a good look at it?" I had. It had looked like someone touched the middle of my back with fingers spread wide in their hand at a tilt. I want to make completely clear no one had touched my back the previous day, especially hard enough to bruise me. Cut to 3 weeks later, my mom comes to visit me. The entire time she's hounding me to come stay with her again. After finally trying to change the subject for the 5th time, I level with her before I've even finished telling the story to her. Her face is white as a sheet. She tells me she's been feeling the same way in the house. She hates it. She wants them to move as soon as possible. And the real kicker? Her new husband's previous wife killed herself in the house. Oh, then I realized, that's some tough stuff right there. All right, so we are about at the hour break, folks. I don't know how this is going to go either, but we'll do the best we can. I'm going to do our break as normal. And then I'll come back and play the intro, I guess, manually to the second hour. And we'll make it sound just as much like the original on TFR as we can. But hopefully this will all be sorted out real soon. But anyway, no chirping here. Okay, so Bam didn't hear it. Static with an orchestra tuning for a second. That's what Bam heard on TFR. Static with an orchestra tuning for a second. That's weird. I wonder if that was somehow feedback from my my dubstep sound. I don't know. Maybe. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, ripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
This looks extraordinarily bad.
They linger in a perpetual dream state, a nightmare from which they cannot wake. Money! like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2. Hope you guys are ready for another hour of this. I'm ready to bring it to you. And remember, the phone lines are open. If you want to call in and be a part of the show, please feel free to. I'd love to hear from you. You can call in 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Was there any specific inspiration for that last song? Android's asking in the YouTube chat. No, not really. I mean, just something sounding a little spooky. I love the poltergeist sound bites. I went out and farmed them online and then came back and thought, well, I'd like to set it to something that's just kind of suspenseful, but a little bit spooky. So, I mean, it was just trying to create a mood is all. But yeah, thank you for asking. I love that song. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it was really just with a sequencer. It was nothing that incredible that I was doing. I was just holding one down and then just doing the chirps, the do. No, nothing really creatively intensive, but thank you. I'm glad you guys like it. So, it was done through Pro Tools through a plugin called Expand 2. And, I love that one. I've done a lot of work with it. In fact, a lot of feline was written on that same sequencer as well. So if you like feline, then that's how it was made. But anyway, let's continue on our journey tonight. We are diving into the depths of the paranormal portal, going into all the craziness that we can find. And hopefully, what do we got here? What is this one? Oh, yeah, this one. Oh, yeah, that's going to be our last part of the show. I'm sorry, just figuring out. All right, here's the article I was looking for this segment of the show. And possibly the next one, too, depending on how fast we get through it. But I got a great article here. So many of you have heard of dowsing. Some people call it witching, dowsing. There's other terms that are used. Some people do spiritual dowsing with like these copper rods with like these straws on them. The rods are bent at a 90-degree angle, and the straws are put over the copper rod to allow it to swing left and right to indicate different things. Some people douse for water using sapling sticks or these same rods. Some people douse for gold. There's been people that are used by the oil companies that douse for well sites. There's something to this, folks. I know it sounds way out there, but is it possible for us to attune ourselves and use maybe what's going on for these dowsers is that they're using their own energy, their connection to all things, as I believe we are all energetically connected to all things, and perhaps with intention, we can create an energy connection with something that we're looking for. In some cases, it's where do we drill for the well? We need water. Or, hey, I got this new claim. I want to look, where do I dig for the gold? Or, look, we got to have a new oil well. Where do we put it? And so these people are oftentimes brought in and douse the area for the best sites to do it. Now, the success rate is what I find very interesting. And I don't know if it's a percentage. I don't know what that percentage would be. But the point is that This is a very, very, very old practice. And it's still utilized today by a lot of different people for a lot of different things. Now, theoretically, you could dowse for anything. If you can focus on what that is and attune yourself to it, maybe it could be your lost keys. You could dowse your house for your lost keys if you lost keys or lost a wedding ring or something like that. Maybe you could do that. I don't know. But I find it very interesting, and it's surprisingly utilized a lot in a lot of the mineralogy and oil industry and waters, looking for water. Some people swear by it. Other people say it's absolute bunk and it's nonsense. You be the judge. But I found this article on liveabout.com, and it is all about dowsing. So I thought, hey, let's spend a few minutes and look. In this case, finding hidden treasure and water. Now, I do know it's also used in the oil industry by some companies, not exclusively. I think primarily they rely on geologists, but some of the old timers still bring in the dowsers. But anyway, let's look at it. This was written by Stephen Wagner, and I know he's written a lot for liveabout.com. And this was updated in February 24th of 2019. A man walking through an empty field holding a Y-shaped stick before him in both hands can be a peculiar sight. What is he doing? Either he's leading some bizarre solitary parade or he's dowsing. Some folks used to use a forked branch of a yew tree. Very cool, Paz. I appreciate that. Fork shaped like a Y. Yeah. I remember playing around with that when I was a kid, actually, taking a sapling branch that had a Y, cutting off all the excess and seeing if I could find things. Well, I lived on a floodplain, so the thing would always go down. Well, there's water everywhere right underneath me, so it was probably a silly thing to do, but I thought it was interesting. What is dowsing? Dowsing in general terms is the art of finding hidden things. Usually this is accomplished with the aid of a dowsing stick, rods, or a pendulum. Also known as a divining, water witching, doodle bugging, and other names, dowsing is an ancient practice whose origins are lost in long forgotten history. However, it is thought to date back at least 8,000 years. Wall murals, estimated to be about 8,000 years old, discovered in the Tassel Caves of North Africa, depict tribesmen surrounding a man with a forked stick, possibly dowsing for water. Artwork from ancient China and Egypt seems to show people using fork tools in what might have been dowsing activities. Dowsing may have been mentioned in the Bible, although not by name, when Moses and Aaron used a rod to locate water. The first unambiguous written accounts of dowsing come from the Middle Ages, when dowsers in Europe used it to help find coal deposits. During the 15th and 16th centuries, dowsers were often denounced as practitioners of evil. Martin Luther said dowsing was the work of the devil, and hence the term water witching. In more modern times, dowsing has been used to find water for wells, mineral deposits, oil, buried treasure, archaeological artifacts, and even missing people. How the dowsing technique was first discovered is unknown, yet those who practice it are unwavering in their affirmations that it does work. For more information on the history of dowsing, see Dowsing Ancient History. How does dowsing work? The quick answer is that no one really knows. Not even experienced dowsers, and some theorize there is a psychic connection establishing between the dowser and the sought object. All things living and inanimate, the theory suggests, possess an energy force. The dowser, by concentrating on the hidden object, is somehow able to tune into that energy force or vibration of the object, which in turn forces the dowsing rod or stick to move. The dowsing tool may act as a kind of amplifier or antenna for tuning into the energy. Skeptics, of course, say dowsing doesn't work at all. Dowsers who seem to have a track record for success, they contend, are just either lucky or they have good instincts or trained knowledge for where to find water, minerals, and the like where they can be found. For believer or skeptic, there's no definitive proof either way. Albert Einstein, however, was convinced of the authenticity of dowsing. He said, "I know very well that many scientists consider dowsing as they do astrology, as a type of ancient superstition. According to my conviction, this is, however, unjustified. The dowsing rod is a simple instrument which shows the reaction of the human nervous system to certain factors which are unknown to us at this time. Who can dowse? Dowsers say that anyone can do it. Like most psychic abilities, it may be a latent power that all humans possess. And like any other ability, the average person might become better at it with practice. However, there are some people whose dowsing powers are extraordinary. Emmy Kittinen, the daughter of a dowser who was one of the most acclaimed dowsers in Germany. In her most famous case, she correctly dowsed the location of a mineralized spring for the village of Tegernsee. All previous drillings found only water within heavy sulfur content, yet Kitterman accurately predicted the depth at which the water would be found as well as its iodine-rich content. In 17th century France, Jacques-Aimé Vernet, a stonemason by trade, used his dowsing talents to successfully track criminals. His dowsing rod on more than one occasion led authorities to the whereabouts of murderers. In December 1992, a Mr. and Mrs. Anders of Bareth Lindgren, Mr. and Mrs. Anders and Bareth Lindgren, were hunting with their friends when their dog ran off and disappeared. An extensive search proved fruitless. A few days later, they sought the help of a dowser, Leif Anderson. His dowsing techniques led the hunters to a small lake where they indeed found the body of the dog, where it apparently had fallen through the thin ice and died. Dowsing is one of the few psychic talents that can be applied directly for profitable result or as a business. Some well-known names from history practice dowsing, including Leonardo da Vinci, Robert Boyle, considered the father of modern chemistry, Charles Richet, a Nobel Prize winner, General Rommel of the German Army, and General George Patton. General Patton, writes Don Nolan in his article A Brief History of Dowsing, had a complete willow tree flown to Morocco so that a dowser could use its branches from it to find water to replace the wells the German army had blown up. The British Army used dowsers on the Falkland Islands to remove mines. Wow. Professor Hans Dieter Betz, professor of physics, Munich University, headed a team of scientists that investigated the ability of dowsers to find underground drinkable supplies, taking them to 10 different countries, and on the advice of dowsers, sank some 2,000 wells with a very high success rate. In Sri Lanka, where the geological conditions are said to be difficult, some 691 wells were drilled for, based on the advice of dowsers, with a 96% success rate. Geohydrologists, given the same task, took 2 months to evaluate a site where a dowser would complete his survey in minutes. The geohydrologists had a 21% success rate, as a result of which the German government has sponsored 100 dowsers to work in the arid zones of southern India to find drinkable water. Types of dowsing. There are several types and methods of dowsing. The forked stick is the most traditional method. Use a small Y-shaped tree branch, most often from a willow. The dowser holds the branch parallel to the ground by the top of the Y shape, and then walks over the area to be probed. When the dowser passes over the sought object, the end of the branch is drawn down, pointing to the spot at which the object can be found. Rods. An alternative method uses 2 L-shaped metal rods, one held in each hand parallel to the ground and parallel to each other. In this case, when the dowser passes over the sought object, the rods either swing apart or cross each other, and you can easily make dowsing rods from wire coat hangers. And then there's map dowsing. Some dowsers don't even have to visit the location to be dowsed. For them, a map of the area is sufficient, over which they hold a pendulum. They know they have the right located targets area when the pendulum begins to move in a circle or back and forth. Y rods, L rods, pendulums, and other dowsing equipment can be purchased from the American Society of Dowsers. Very interesting. There's this little baby spider just decided to come visit. I know you won't be able to see him, but I guess he's going to hang out on the mic stand now. He's like dangling like a pendulum in front of my screen, so he's now taken care of. But That's dowsing, folks. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there's something to dowsing? Have you guys heard any stories of dowsers? Have you ever seen it done outside of, obviously on TV shows and such? But I'm here to tell you, I think here's how I think it works, though, and this is just a theory, and that's worth nothing, but it's my theory and it's my show. So I think that there's an ancient idea in a lot of metaphysical practices that there is a magnetism, and perhaps the way it works is that it's almost like a walking meditation, and the branch or the fork or whatever, the rods become an extension of you. And I don't know if it's just maybe a subtle muscular twitch that causes the rods to go down or to cross or uncross, or the Y to point down, or if it's indeed a part of the energetic current of that magnetism. It's magnetism is talked about a lot in traditional magical practices, well, at least in the ones that I'm familiar with. But I think that it's a matter of just attuning yourself for things. And perhaps these rods or these, whatever tools you're using to dowse with, a pendulum, the rods or whatever, can dial it in, because it's an extension of that force. I don't know. Pazuzu says, haven't seen it done, but I believe if the intent is strong enough, then yep, I agree completely. Let's see, Paranormal Portal, your theories are worth something. If it's worth our time watching you. Thanks. I'm glad you think so. I'm glad. I think there is something to all of this stuff, obviously, because if I thought that dowsing was just a bunch of bunk, I wouldn't waste much time on the show about it. But I think it's one of those things. It's not unlike, in some ways, not unlike what happens with a Ouija board, is that the energy of another being perhaps comes through the people doing the Ouija board and creates that channel. Well, I think it's a different kind of channeling, a natural channel between you and what you're seeking to find. And perhaps it works along the same principles as a Ouija board. Why does the Ouija board work? Well, I've shared my ideas about that with you guys. But is it the same? Maybe. I don't know. TV shows are these rods that they use to cross with water or energy. That cross with water or energy. Well, Stacy, in answer to your question, I think I understand what you're asking. Well, in the TV shows when they're using rods, like in a lot of paranormal TV shows, for instance, they use dowsing rods to figure out where the high energy areas of the house are, much like you might use an EMF detector to do. But they dowse for areas to investigate. And it's like anything you intend can be dowsed for. It could be like in the case of the lost dog that was covered in this article. It's a lost body of a dog, but there was an emotional connection between the owners and this dog, obviously. So maybe that's what created the ability for them to make that connection and for the dowser to key in on. I don't know. I think it's really interesting stuff, but it can be energy, it can be water, it could be anything that you're focusing on theoretically. I can't say that it'll always have that high percentage of success depending on whatever it is, but things like, for instance, water. Water takes up a big area. I mean, it's not just one little hole into the earth where you can draw water from. You're going to create a little hole to get to all this water down there, but it's a pretty big area. It's a pretty powerful field, I would imagine, that water to connect with, if you indeed believe that we can connect on that level. But I think we can. I think that we can connect to anything. But it's just all a matter of us, tuning our mind and meditating on it with deep enough relaxation and commitment and connection that it can happen. Just my 2 cents. As always, folks, you get all of those here for free on the Paranormal Portal. But I didn't know that it was willow. Willow was the most common used for that. I didn't know that. As a kid, I was just cutting up any tree that happened to be a young sapling. I was doing those because that's where I figured they were how to make them. They didn't really specify on the TV show. No, it's definitely from my headphones. It did it again. I don't know. I don't know what that is, folks. I don't know if you guys heard it again, but again, I hear it like deep in my ear. It's not like a regular noise. It's very different. Whatever it is, I guess they're not hearing it on TFR, but you guys on YouTube have heard it. Yeah. Maggie said she heard it. It's a mouse. It kind of sounds like it might be a mouse, to be honest with you, but it's not. I don't know what it is. It's just this weird intermittent chirping thing. I don't know. It sounds, I mean, I got a ceiling fan going on up there, but it's only turning about this fast. So it's not like going whip, 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 like that sound would be. It does a rotation in about, 4 seconds. It's very slowly spinning above me. There's a little fan going right there, but it's going a hell of a lot faster than that. So I don't know what's great in that noise, but it's definitely coming from the headphones, because when I pulled it off, it was just in the headphone. It was only in one ear when I opened up my earphones. So whatever the hell it is, I don't know. Sasquatch Chronicles. Hello. Hey, Wes. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for stopping in. Wes, do you believe in dowsing? Think there's anything to that? You have to let us know. We were just covering an article on dowsing. Here's the thing. If it's been around for 8,000 years and people still believe it, that's pretty powerful to me. I mean, for anything to survive and be in regular practice for that long would suggest. I was just listening to the Paranormal Podcast and the Bob Gimlin interview. Time to destroy Brent. He's getting too good. Line up, brother. Sounds like a challenge. No, I don't need to be destroyed. Just need to be supported. No, I appreciate that. If you guys haven't heard that Bob Gimlin interview on our podcast, please check it out. That was, for me, one of the most incredible interviews that I've ever done, just because it was so cool to sit down with the guy. Bob's the godfather. He's the one that started the whole Bigfoot movement in our modern age, he and Roger Patterson. And so it was really an honor to sit down with Bob and have that discussion. And so it was really awesome. It was really awesome. There's a lot that's been lost, though, Brent. Yeah, there is. There's a lot that has been lost. But, if we've lost it, then I guess we don't know we're missing it. But it's nice that some things have been remembered, And whether you believe it's true or not, I don't know. I'm going to just leave it out there for you guys. But here's the thing. Again, it's been in practice for thousands of years. It's still in practice today in many industries. And I think there's got to be something to do with it. The thing I found interesting was in this article where it talked about the 96% success rate on Sri Lanka, whereas seismologists or whatever, geohydrologists had a 21% success rate on where they predicted water would be versus the dowsers' 96% success rate. Who are you going to call? All right. Well, just some food for thought, folks. I don't know. It's never the object of the portal to make you believe or not believe. It's, up to you. I just like talking about phenomena, and that certainly qualifies as a strange phenomena that defies our scientific reasoning as we understand it. But anyway, we are just about a minute and a half out of the next break. Again, this is the last live show for about a week and a half. And I hope you guys will continue to visit the YouTube page. Check out the 1,017 episodes that we have in our YouTube bank of videos on demand. That's a lot of shows. I can't even believe that we've done that many, but we have. So we've got over 1,000 shows on YouTube, and you can certainly check those out in the next week and a half. If you're not already subscribed, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe. Please ring the bell, because I'm going to be streaming here and there over the next week and a half when I can. It's going to be very intermittently, but I'm going to show a few things that I think are pretty important to me. And so I want to share those with you guys. So I hope you'll tune in when they happen. And they're going to be at all kinds of different times. There's nothing scheduled. I may actually sit down and pull together a show to do for you guys while I'm out doing my thing. But I hope you guys will check it out. I'm usually working. Oh, I'm sorry. I see. Oh, you cannot leave me. Stacy, I gotta do this. Sorry, I gotta take a break. It's there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, but it's going to be a good break for me, taking care of things and things that need doing. So, dead shows are way scarier. I'm not sure what dead shows are, but anyway. All right, so we're going to go to break, folks. This is the last break, isn't it? Jesus, it's going fast. All right, for those of you on TFR, you're going to hear probably nothing for a couple minutes, but those of you on YouTube, enjoy this commercial break, this video break that I've put together. This goes out in honor of Mr. Wes Germer. That's kind of crazy, folks. Over the break, look behind me. Maybe that's where that noise was coming from. Maybe there was something going on with the connection to the portal screen behind me. But I'm going to just turn that off because obviously it's being quite temperamental. So maybe that's where that weird chirping was coming from. I don't know. But it's not unusual. Not unusual. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Last half hour of the show. Hope you guys are having a good time. I have a final article here to close out the whole show with you guys. And this one, I don't know, I might have to visit some more things because it's not an extraordinarily long article. But it's interesting because these sightings come up, and we deal with cryptids quite a bit here on the show. This isn't so much a cryptid, though. It's sightings of what appear to be dinosaurs. And I don't know what to think about it, to be honest with you. Here's the thing. People still see dinosaurs from time to time in the world. And I'm not just talking alligators and sharks, things that have been around, or coelacanths or anything of the like, or just big iguanas or whatever. I'm talking about like pterodactyls. I'm talking about, like in Africa, the Mokele-mbembe, the river stopper or whatever that means. That's in the Congo, apparently. There's these stories of people seeing what's by all intents and purposes sound like dinosaurs. Now, I don't know what to make of these, because if it's indeed a dinosaur, if it's like a pterodactyl, of course we're familiar with how big the brain of dinosaurs is. I think most people that have any interest at all in dinosaurs will say, yeah, they got a brain about the size of a pea. They got these huge bodies, but their actual brain cavity is just a little bigger than a booger. And these are not animals that would be planning on avoiding people. They would be strategic in taking care or extra precautions when they see people to get away. These are just things that would exist. The other part of it is, and I've often thought, well, could it be some kind of portal or something? Is there some kind of naturally occurring portal where these things could come through into our realm and then kind of get swallowed back up because they're out of phase or sync with our time or whatever? However all this works, and I don't pretend to know the mechanics of space-time, but I'm just thinking because that's what I do. But if that were the case, let's say a portal opened between our Jurassic or Cretaceous period into our current period, the atmosphere would be so drastically different that I think if a pterodactyl did fly through, it would probably fall unconscious onto the earth and die in a matter of minutes, because the oxygen content of our current environment is much lower than it was in those periods, like a lot lower. So it would be like the akin to you going from, let's say Minneapolis, Minnesota, to the peak of Everest in just that quickly, and not the cold and not that. I'm not talking about temperature. I'm just talking about the oxygen difference would be so abrupt that it would probably cause some form of embolism in these creatures if they were just sneaking through time. So what is going on here? How are people still seeing these creatures? Are there still pockets of these existing somehow, some way, and they're just managing to avoid us by sheer luck? Are we not finding bodies of their deceased fallen, when they get old, do they die, or what's going on? Are they timeless? This doesn't make much sense to me, but it's still, I don't doubt that people are seeing these things. I just don't know how they're seeing them. That's my question. So there's another article from liveabout.com by the very same author, Stephen Wagner, and it's coming from January 6, 2019. They were the largest creatures ever to attain flight, with the wingspans reaching nearly 40 feet. Pterosaurs ruled the prehistoric skies for over 100 million years, until they died out with the dinosaurs about 65 million years ago. Or did they? There have been many modern-day sightings of creatures that, by eyewitness description, sound like pterosaurs or pterodactyl sightings. There are also intriguing rock carvings or even photographs that suggest that this species of amazing flying monsters could have survived extinction, could have soared through the skies of the southwestern United States until very recently, and still might exist in small numbers in remote parts of the world. What are pterosaurs? Pterosaurs were not dinosaurs, but a family of large flying reptiles. Pterosaur means winged lizard. That includes the pterodactyl and the pterodon. The pterosaur stood on two rather spindly legs and had wings composed of leathery membrane that stretched from the animal's extremely long fourth finger to its body. Despite their appearance, they are not related to birds and are highly successful flyers that might have dined on fish and insects. modern pterodactyl sightings. Although there seems to be no hard evidence that pterosaurs did not die out millions of years ago, no pterosaurs have ever been captured and no bodies have ever been found. That's my point as well. Sightings have persisted. Stories of flying reptiles have been recorded for many hundreds of years. Excuse me. Some think that tales of the mythical dragons in the lore of many cultures around the world would be attributed to sightings of pterosaurs. Here are the more modern accounts. May 1961, New York State. A businessman flying his private plane over the Hudson River Valley claimed that he was buzzed by a very large flying creature that he said looked like a pterodactyl. In the early 1960s, California, a couple driving through Trinity National Forest reported seeing the silhouette of a giant bird that they estimated to have a wingspan of 14 feet. They later described it as resembling a pterodactyl. On January 1976 in Harlingen, Texas, teens Jackie Davis and Tracy Lawson reported seeing a bird on the ground that stood 5 feet tall, was dark in color and bald head with a face like a gorilla's. What the hell is that? And a sharp 6-inch long beak. A subsequent investigation by their parents uncovered tracks that had 3 toes and were 8 inches across. Well, that doesn't sound like a pterodactyl or a pterosaur. I don't know what the hell they saw, but that sounds horrible. In February 1976, San Antonio, Texas, 3 elementary school teachers saw what they described as a pterodactyl swooping low over their cars as they drove, and they said its wingspan was between 15 and 20 feet. One of the teachers commented that it glided through the air on huge bony wings like a bat. September 1982, Los Fresnos, Texas. An ambulance driver named James Thompson was stopped while driving on Highway 100 by his sighting of a large bird-like object. Flying low over the area, he described it as black or grayish, with a rough texture but no feathers. It had 5 to 6 foot wingspan, which is pretty big but not huge. That's not much bigger than an eagle, or about the same size. A hump on the back of its head and almost no neck at all. After consulting some books to identify the creature, he decided it most looked like a pterosaur. Then there's Africa's Congomodo. While other reports of pterosaur-like creatures have come out of Arizona, Mexico, and Crete, it is out of Central Africa that some of the most interesting anecdotes have come. While traveling through Zambia in 1923, Frank H. Mellon collected reports from natives of an aggressive flying reptile they called Congomodo, which means overwhelmer of boats. The natives, who were occasionally tormented by these creatures, described them as being featherless with smooth skin, having a beak full of teeth, and a wingspan of between 4 and 7 feet. When shown illustrations of pterosaur, Mellon reported the natives identified them as most resembling the Congomodo. In 1925, a native man was allegedly attacked by a creature that he identified as a pterosaur. This occurred in the swamp near Rhodesia, where the man suffered a large wound in his chest that he said was caused by the monster's long beak. In late 1980s, noted cryptozoologist Roy Mackal led an expedition into Nambia, from which he heard the reports of a prehistoric-looking creature with a wingspan of up to 30 feet. Photo evidence. If pterosaurs really died out with the dinosaurs and their fossil remains were not discovered until 1784, then a depiction of one could not possibly exist in an ancient rock carving. Yet a pictograph found high on a cliff face near Thompson, Utah, seems to show just that. While many experts believe the drawing is a bird, the beak, head prominence, wings, and legs also look very much like those of a pterosaur. Another fascinating tale of a pterosaur literally coming out of the stone dates back to 1856 in France. Workmen were digging through Jurassic area limestone for a railway tunnel between the St. Dizier and Nancy lines when a large boulder of limestone split open. The workers were astonished to see a large winged creature come tumbling out. They said it fluttered its wings, let out a croaking noise, and then dropped dead at their feet. The creature had thick black leathery skin, a beak full of sharp teeth, long talons for feet, and membrane-like wings that spanned 10 feet 7 inches by their measure. The body of the creature was taken to a nearby town of Gray, according to a story where it was identified as a pterodactyl by a student of paleontology. As reported in the Illustrated London News of February 9th, 1856, the rock in which the creature had apparently been entombed for millions of years contained a precise mold of its body. How is that possible? Wow. In April 25th, 1890 edition of the Tombstone Epitaph, ran a story of 2 Arizona ranchers who claimed to have chased, on horseback, a flying monster resembling a huge alligator with an extremely elongated tail and an immense pair of wings. True to the spirit of the West, they shot the creature, of course. What is it? I don't know. Shoot it. Quick. Taking measurements, they reported that the creature was 92 feet long and 160-foot wingspan and a mouth full of very sharp teeth. The story is not taken seriously by many researchers today, but it corresponds loosely with a story about a thunderbird that was allegedly shot in the same area in 1886, and then dragged into town to be photographed, and several paranormal researchers claim to recall seeing that photo, but don't know where, and the photo has not been seen since. I've heard about that. This alleged Thunderbird's photo that's several paranormal researchers, as it suggests in the article, do talk of seeing that picture and are absolutely mind-boggled because I think they saw it in like Fate magazine or something like that. And even when they look at the archives of Fate magazine, it isn't in there. So is that a Mandela effect? Could be. I don't know. That's really weird. But at any rate, there's the stories that talk about the pterodactyls. What does that mean? Hell, I don't know. It's hard to understand because, again, this would be something, if it did exist as it existed back then, it would be a pretty simple creature, much like the birds that come to your bird feeder or bats or whatever. They're going to go to where they need to eat, and they're going to find a place to roost and maybe have offspring. And other than that, maybe they'll learn to fear people if they don't already. They'll learn that, those people are not good, stay away. But, I mean, they're not going to be strategic. They're not going to be able to just avoid every effort to, locate or to substantiate them. These are not, overly clever beings, not even like mammal smart. They would just be very simple, I would imagine. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong. I don't know. Maybe pterosaurs had huge brains. I don't know. But I don't think they would be into the ability of being able to just avoid people. I don't know that would be possible. I had another article to read you, but I don't think I'm going to have time for that. So I think Pazuzu, Brent, birds are smarter than folks give them credit for. Well, I know that crows and ravens are, for sure, they're able to do some pretty good problem solving. But that same crow, you can hit it with a slingshot. It's not like it's so crafty and smart that it can just avoid any attempt to get it. So I don't think these things would be either. I'm not meaning to diminish the intelligence in birds or anything for that matter. But what I'm saying is it's not something that's going to go, tell my offspring about those people, those naked skinny things down there. Not just corvids. Yeah, I understand. It's not my desire to, I guess I'm not trying to say that there's no natural intelligence in things or even sophisticated intelligence in things, but are they gonna be able to strategize and avoid and make sure their bodies aren't left out so that we can find them? I mean, I don't think that they would be working on that level of functioning personally, but that's just me. I could be wrong. That's okay. I forgive you. Thanks, Paz. Appreciate that. But I think it's very interesting, and again, I know these claims are coming in. They're out there, folks. I just don't know, what does it mean? I don't understand what's going on that people are seeing these things. And again, I'm not meaning to suggest that these people are full of baloney or anything. I think they truly believe they're seeing something, but I don't know how they're seeing what they're claimed to see. That's where I'm stuck. So it's not up to me to judge people's experiences like that did happen or that didn't happen. That's not possible. This is possible. That's never going to be the scope of the show. I can't begin to be any kind of authority in that manner because people know what they saw. Most people are intelligent enough to be able to say, hey, I saw this. I know I saw it. There's also, plenty of people that are full of baloney, but that's not what I'm getting into here. There's a seagull hunts pigeons at some lake on the Thames, takes them out into the lake and drowns them. Wow. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I've seen little fish or seen clips of this kind of bird, and I can't remember what kind of bird it was, but it's a smaller bird. But it had learned to take pieces of bread given to it by passersby and stuff throwing food to the birds. It would take pieces of bread, take them to the shoreline. It was some kind of bird that would eat fish normally, and it would throw the bread into the water and would wait. And once a little fish came to grab the bread, it would grab the fish and then eat it. Then it would go get another piece of bread. And so this bird had learned to fish. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. It had actually learned to fish. And it's a little bird. It's not like a big stork or something like that or a heron. It's just this little bird, but he figured out that if he went and get some bread and he would throw it out, and then if nothing happened, he'd grab it and then he'd throw it out again. And then once the minnow came, he'd nail it. I mean, it would get the bread, and then he'd go get another piece of bread until he was full. And that's brilliant. I mean, that does show an evolution of thought and complex thinking patterns that it observed somehow, some way. Like it maybe observed bread falling into the water, and then a minnow got it, and it went, hey, I could put bread in there and get that too. And so make it a much more successful hunter. So that's exactly, I think that they do have a worldview. Yep. They can show crazy smarts, absolutely. But, how much smarts can they show? That same bird could fly into a window because it saw a reflection of trees, So intelligence is kind of measured there. There's some things they can understand, some things they can learn, but they'll fly straight into a window and break their neck the next 5 minutes, after they solve this complex puzzle. So, yeah. I'm not saying people are much better in many cases, but you know what I'm saying. So we got about 7 minutes left, folks. Give me a state. Let's look up a Bigfoot report to close out the show. I'm going to go to the BFRO. We're going to see a state, and we're going to talk about it. Give me a state quick in the chat, and we'll visit a quick BFRO report. I'm waiting. Colorado. Which one's that? Which one's Colorado? All right, so we're looking for Class A reports. I'm going to look for the county in Colorado that has the most. Looks like Teller County has the most. Teller County. There's few. Oh, no, there's Park County. That has 13. Let's look at Park. Class A from May of 2012. I like the Class A's the best. There's another one from December 2002 on the BFRO, but let's look at the 2012 one. This is from spring of May 29th, Colorado, Park County, location withheld at witness request. It's a small report. We can look at a couple of these. And it's like the nearest town is Bailey, and I was just talking to somebody about Bailey, Colorado, just recently, and apparently a lot of phenomenon is recorded in Bailey. It says a resort manager and her friend were just completing their evening hike when they saw a grayish animal running past them at a speed so fast that at first they couldn't imagine what it could be. It was standing upright while running and was huge. I asked them to estimate its height, but they didn't know, other than it seemed to be a lot taller than them. Probably at least 7 foot tall. They described it as human looking. I will encourage them to post the details themselves in the morning. And they apparently never did. Let's see. Okay, I guess it did. is not one of the witnesses. I contacted the report submitter, who was not one of the witnesses, and got contact information to contact both women. On May 29th, 2012, I saw something running through the Pike National Forest that matched the description of a Bigfoot. A neighbor and I went for a hike at approximately 7:45 p.m. We heard a very loud noise that sounded like a branch breaking. I heard a little bit of rustling, as in leaves, with the branch breaking, but very, very brief. It was still daylight, so we could see well, and we looked in the direction of the noise and saw something running. At first, it was partly covered by trees and bushes. It was large and dark. It was approximately 200 feet from where we were at. It ran parallel to where we were standing, and through the forest and down a slight hill. I could see it running for approximately 5 to 7 seconds, and some of the time we could see it clearly. Part of the time it was partially covered as it went by the trees. It was dark gray, almost black. It had hair, very long legs. As it ran, it had kind of a leaning forward posture. It was very fast, very long stride, and I could hear no noise as it ran. It was very dry and lots of pine needles and foliage, but there was no noise. It ran out of sight and was gone, and my mind tried to process what I was seeing and ran through the possibilities of animals, but Bigfoot kept coming to mind. My neighbor and I were both silent. I did say at one point, "Is that a deer?" Even though I knew it wasn't. When it was gone, finally I said, "It looked like a Bigfoot." My neighbor said, "That's what I was going to say, but I thought you'd think I was crazy." We then both discussed what we were having trouble believing, that we saw a Bigfoot. We both reported the same impressions about physical description, imitated the posture, gait, etc. I know what I saw, and it was not human, and it was or any kind of common animal. It matched the description of a Bigfoot. That's pretty crazy. That was submitted by Mark Taylor, BFRO investigator. That's really wild. Huh. The other one from 2002, we got 3 minutes left. Let's see what we can dig into here. Maybe it'll be too much. If it's brief enough, we can cover it. Yeah, this one's pretty brief. This is coming from Colorado, Park County, and it says the nearest town is Jefferson. This is from 2002. While headed back from Denver from Buena Vista, my wife and I saw something very large pass in front of another car. This car was in front of us by about 25 feet. The weather was not good, as it was snowing and dark out, and I was driving about 12 to 15 miles per hour. At first, I thought that it was a person getting out of their car in front of us, and this struck me as odd, considering the weather and the time of night, not to mention the location. We were in a 4x4 pickup, and I guessed this thing to be about 7 to 8 feet tall, very dark body, with a large head and huge hands. It crossed the highway in a smooth, fluid motion. Paying no mind to the vehicles coming in either direction, it crossed the road in 3 or 4 strides and then disappeared off to the west side of the road. My wife and I remained speechless for a couple of minutes. Then I asked her what she thought she saw, and she said it looked like a Bigfoot, and I agreed. That's crazy. Lots of that. I really believe that probably the next, I've said it many times, the next Patterson-Gimlin film is going to come from a dash cam. I think the more people get those dash cams on their car, the more likelihood that we're going to catch some of these in video form, and it'll be great to be able to examine them and have a look at what the hell's going on. I think they're fascinating. I think that it's surprising the number of people driving cars that see Bigfoot. I think that's absolutely fascinating. And you know it's intentional. These are not stupid, doting idiots. These are an intelligent creature that is choosing to do that. So I think that's pretty incredible. But anyway, folks, this brings up the twilight of the show. And again, this is the last live show that we're going to have for a little while here. So again, about a week and a half, I'll probably come back. Let me look at the calendar. I think I'll be back for a live show on the 21st, I think. But it may be either a day before or a day after. No, it would definitely be the 21st. That would be the first show live back after this next week. So I hope you guys will be here when I come back. I don't want to lose you, but I gotta take care of some stuff. So I love you guys too, Raspberries. Paranormal Portal The first episode, first season of Finding Bigfoot was a police dash cam. It was pretty decent. Yeah, it was okay. I know the one you're talking about. It was decent as far as being in the middle of the night and in a very dark situation that something runs past, and it was enhanced to be able to see that it was bipedal, and but still the details are pretty lacking. It's still not a Patterson-Gimlin quality, but it's okay. The dash cams are getting better and better, and hopefully so will the footage that we get. But, ladies and gentlemen, stick around for Paisley Wild coming up next on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and you can check her on YouTube at youtube.com/thespacesbetween. But I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. I'll see you as soon as I see you.